Hello, everybody. Thank you for joining us. Welcome to another edition of In the Metal. Every week on In the Metal, myself and Dan Spitz have been taking a look at behind the scenes in the world of independent watchmaking. And every week so far, we have been joined by absolutely amazing talents whose work is probably better known than they are. And as is always the case with independent watchmaking, we know the watches, we don't always know the people behind it. Well, In the Metal is here to crack that nut. And we are joined this week with another remarkable talent, a man who is third generation watchmaker, his grandfather, his father before him, and now himself. And where his predecessors, his ancestors worked on restorations and repairs of beautiful timepieces, this young man has set out to create watches in the traditional way, using traditional tools and techniques. So there's nothing common about what these gentlemen do, and that includes what my friend in North Carolina is Mr. Dan Spitz. So to welcome our new guest on, Dan, I would like to invite you on to see if everything's going okay. I'm struggling here with these buttons. We missed a week and it's like driving an old car, man. I can't remember where everything is. You know, where's the cigarette lighter?
I was just going to run to the kitchen and get my nutcracker. We're just a bunch of nutcrackers.
I think you would find very few people would argue with that, my friend.
I'll fit right into that mold right there. Hey, good to see you, Johnny. And I don't know how we line this one up, but they just keep coming out of their shells. We keep but this is Aaron is he's monumental and pivotal in the birth and progression of independent watchmaking, and I'm sure if you haven't seen his work, you're definitely inside a nutshell, because it's one of my heroes. I'm going to get to talk to. So it's that same kind of nervousness you are when I used to have to meet some heavy metal guitar god, or play with them live and, at a festival or something and go to meet them. It's kind of like that same thing here today.
It really is. Look, every week, Dan, we have been absolutely privileged to be joined by some of these extraordinary watchmakers. And, it's okay. Some watchmakers get it easier than others, let's say, right? If you're in La Vallée de Joux, you've got so many different people that you can turn to, that you can give you advice, maybe a little bit of mentorship, or generally encouraging you along, because making a watch is not something you wake up one morning and say, well, I'm going to make a nice watch. Unless you're Michael Hulsman, of course, but you don't normally say that. So it's a long and drawn out and protracted process, as you are demonstrating yourself, because we've been doing this for nearly 6 months, Dan, and every week is you're inching forward along that process. And
it's hard for any of us to kind of show you all. You get a little glimpse now of others on Instagram and whatnot, but we don't even have time to take the pictures. I mean, I'm at almost 4 years here of research and development, another 3.5 years just for the escapement previous to that. And what a struggle it was for Aaron way back when, before the internet and all that. And then, we're going to talk about it because he's one of my mentors when I got into, trying to build my own CNC machine and really go in that route. Yeah. So he's just a badass, man. And his designs are like no one else's. And he's representing a country, like you were just trying to speak about how hard it is outside of Switzerland. It's impossible. And he did it in the dark ages where, he did have light and electricity at some hours of the day.
Yeah. I'm looking at my lighting situation. I was going to get through the next hour or so. This is like dark side of the Johnny here, because you got a light on one side and
we got to keep pressing
dark
that. We do have to keep pressing that point, and I want to bring that up with Aaron, because, and I keep bringing it up with the people that we have on that really are walking legends, that so that the people of today that are watching us don't say, "Oh man, he just went on YouTube when he had a problem and figured something out." We didn't have anything. It's a different time.
What do you think? Should we go over to Budapest and Budapest and knock on the door of the Becsei atelier and see, is Aaron there? Hello, Aaron.
Hi, Dan. Hi, Johnny. Hi, everyone.
How you doing, Aaron?
Wow, look who we've got on, Aaron Becsei. Thank you so much for joining us on In the Metal. An absolute honor and privilege to welcome you on. So thanks a million, Aaron. How are things going with you in Budapest?
Everything's fine. I'm super busy. I have several projects what I'm working on, so I never get bored.
Well, good to see you, Aaron, and thank you for coming on. I know it's really hard to get a lot of us on here to find that time, because every hour does count in what we do, because it's everything we do takes so long. It's a very slow and tedious and perfection at its best project. So we greatly appreciate all the insight you can give to young watchmakers, the collectors that are watching that really don't get this inside view of the insanity brain and drive that you have, and that all of us have. Well, some of us they don't have it, and they just fall by the wayside. But you're certainly there. I'm going to start right here. You're a third generation watchmaker, like me. I have ancestry from your country. My grandmother and my grandfather both came to the United States from Hungary. I played in Hungary. It's a beautiful country. So we have a lot in common. It's in our blood. And again, you're the lone wolf representing your country for so long. And I really would like to touch upon that. What was that like way back when you couldn't go around the corner to a parts house in Switzerland and get what you needed, even get screws, get German silver, get whatever you needed to produce what you do. It must have been a total struggle way back when.
Yeah, I'm in the same situation as you, so it's really hard to get the materials and the knowledge and everything. But at the same time, I feel lucky because I am really like to make experiments and develop new things. And if you don't have to follow the traditional Swiss path, you can have a different point of view and develop other techniques that no one else did.
Yeah, thinking outside the box, or being forced to work outside the box, right? So you're third generation. So you grew up in your father's watch shop. Is that how you got the disease?
Yes. Basically, in my family, my grandfather started the profession. Unfortunately, I couldn't meet him because he left at the year when I was born. But he was a really talented watchmaker in Budapest. Other watchmakers take the repairs to him, which are considered to not repairable. Let's say. So he was the one who could make difficult things. After that, my father followed this profession. He's very good also because he's a collector also and a watchmaker too. So he has a very good sense for style, and he has also a collector point of view. So I learned really, really much from him. I grew up surrounded the watches and in his workshop, but at the beginning it wasn't I wasn't sure that I will be a watchmaker too, because I have a lot of interest in mechanical design, and I also was interested in the IT section.
Oh, that's good though, because welcome to watchmaking in 2020, right? But we'll get to that. We're going to get to that because you're a big interest. I mean, you've impacted me just through your pictures, and we'll get into that. Pictures that are around the internet and pictures of your workshop and all kinds of cool stuff like that. But I want people to get a good sense of your background first, because I know you've done a few articles here and there, but when we finally can talk to someone, watchmaker to watchmaker and journalist to watchmaker, we can really get inside your brain and show the people, young watchmakers and collectors, what really makes us all tick, and where the drive comes from. Where in our family did we get it? Where you went back to school to learn CAD and CAM, from what I understand, and where did that drive come from? And you just told us, you had an interest in IT and a background in that, so you really went for it, right? You went back to school after watchmaking school and growing up in a watch shop. You wanted to somehow incorporate, I would imagine, that into more modern day watchmaking than sitting there with a hammer and a chisel and a rounding up tool, right? So tell us about that. Tell us how your interest became more modernized, and you wanted to go independent and really utilize the tools at our fingertips now, which we need to produce more than one timepiece a year. Me and Johnny keep telling everyone, it all looks good when you're coming out of school, and I want to make it on all. I'm just going to use my Shaolin 70 and I'm going to make a watch. And it's a wonderful pathway, but in the end, we all have to eat. And we like to make watches where, the main plate and the bridges, once we get them down, the second and third watch, fourth watch, fifth watch, they're all, solidified, and they're not all, haphazardly made, because it takes so long to do that on a jig board correctly. So tell us a little bit about your, watchmaking school, and then going back to school for CAD and CAM and that little journey there.
After the secondary school, I had to choose. By the way, I was making. I was quite good at water polo too, so I had to make a decision that I go that path or watchmaking or another path. And after the secondary school, I decided to make the watchmaking school in Budapest. It's 2 years school, but there you can only learn the basics, let's say, how to assemble watch, and watch history, and that's all basically. And in the meantime, I went to my workshop, went to my father's workshop, and made really interesting restorations what he got to make. And that was an amazing period for me, and it was the first step to choose that path. I saw really nice vintage watches and clocks, and a lot of time there were no missing parts. There were missing parts or broken parts. You have to redesign and recreate. And this was the first step when I was realized that I can redesign and remake the components by myself. And following that, that was lead to make my first timepiece, the miniature Zapper clock.
That's cool. So you did you did a lot of restoration work. So you got to see what other watchmakers did inside those watches that should never be done. They shouldn't have been inside there, right? Because the same with me. I've been doing I had a whole business just doing, Patek Philippe restorations when there's no more parts and all that, and doing it since I'm a young kid. So we keep telling people that too. I see how Aaron's cracking up. We're trying to explain to you, a lot of you out there, that the pathway to a really sound, independent timepiece that you're going to purchase should come from someone who has years and years of experience in restorations, because it's not about replacing parts. It's about the other watchmakers that were in these complicated watches just trying to make some money, right? And they shouldn't have been inside those watches. And they're literally in there like hacking it up. Like there's scrape marks everywhere. They leave fingerprints in oil, which is the oil from your fingers, which create rust inside of a timepiece. Just sloppy work. And that's mainly 90% of the work that we do as traditionally trained watchmakers, is to fix your timepiece, is to make the missing parts that those dudes hacked up. They're just bad mechanics. Okay, so that's what we're all just trying to explain to you. But that gives us the experience that when someone like Aaron goes to say, I'm going to create my first timepiece, my second timepiece, and this thing is going to last forever, because he knows how robust to make all the parts. Because there is a chance some hack master is going to be inside one of his too. Right? Oh, so you're a water polo master. Oh, man. Water polo watches.
Water polo at a very high level. Your national team, Aaron, yes? You were in the water polo?
Sorry?
You were not like national team standard. And
I quit when I was 18. So, but until that, I was in the let's say the best club in Hungary. So we won a lot of Hungarian cup. So I had to decide how should I go on.
Do you still participate in water polo now?
No. A few years I was made it by hobby, but now I don't have time next to watch.
I think you made the right decision, Aaron. I think you made the right decision. And I just want, because it's lovely to hear your introduction and to learn a little bit about you. But one thing that you mentioned at the start was how, because you weren't working in Switzerland, you weren't trained in Switzerland, it allowed you to think outside the box a little bit, or you're able to apply your own concepts and your own ideas. And that's something, Dan, that we have seen over the last few months, is that where Switzerland is perceived as being the ticking heart of the watch industry and the independent watch industry. But there's a lot of people who are absolutely rewriting the rule book. And the reason they're doing that is because they're not being trained in a conventional environment where you have to do this and you have to follow steps A, B, and C. So I think I read, Aaron, that George Daniels' books were a great help.
Yes, of course. It was my Bible at the beginning. So
amazing that the impact and the influence.
He let the secrets out across the border. That's why
any man can make a watch, and that
there's an important question. Where did your dad? How was your dad trained? I know you. So you sat in the watch shop with him, which means you learned a lot from him. Was he traditionally trained in the Hungarian School of Watchmaking, or can you elaborate on that just a little bit?
Sorry, how do you mean?
Your father was a watchmaker, right? You were in his watch shop, so you learned a lot from your dad.
Yes, exactly.
What watchmaking school training did your father have?
The same as myself, but
the Hungarian school. Okay, all right.
Yeah, fantastic.
Cool. And he also learned a lot from his father, but basically what we developed it's like a autodidact.
So Johnny, what I'm trying to show is his Aaron's art in the end is not just a product of him going to a 2-year school, and moving on, and he's a lone wolf by himself. He sat in his father's watchmaking clock shop, and he learned sitting at a bench next to him. His father was teaching him. So he's a product of 3 generations of all that accumulated art from his grandfather and his father. That's what's coming out in his mechanical art.
It's in the blood. It's in the blood.
Yeah, same with me. Your art becomes your a product of your environment, Aaron. Is what I'm trying to show. It's in independent watchmaking. We have to show the collectors that are interested that this is mechanical art. We don't have a boss. That's what independence is all about. People can say, I'm making a handmade. Well, what is handmade? Did you turn the light on? Well, it's not handmade. Did you use a pantograph machine? That's a CNC machine. We all know that's a CNC machine. It's what it is. So it's no longer handmade. But what is that? It doesn't matter, because that person, whoever he is creating his art, if he wants to call that, I made this way, I made this that way, we have that freedom. And it's the same freedom that came from my music when we started up what was called thrash metal. At that time, it was just heavy metal, but it had rules. The record company would tell you what to do. The record company wouldn't release your album unless the song was produced by this famous producer and this way and that way, right? So we didn't want to do that. We wanted to be outside the box, have full independence, start music that had no boss. The music came from us. The t-shirt designs came from us. The album designs came from us, and no one could tell us right, wrong, or whatever, like an underground kind of thing. And that's what this form of watchmaking and art is that we create. It's really art. There's no boss. And that's the beauty of what we do in modern independent watchmaking.
Totally. So, Aaron, to get started, whenever you started, your first timepiece wasn't actually a watch, was it?
Yeah, it was a clock. I have a lot of. I have seen a lot of museums all over Europe with my father. We made a round trip, and in the Viennese museum, I saw these little pendule clocks, and I made a little research about them, and I learned that the old watchmakers, the earlier age, were compete each other who could make the smaller pendule clock. And in the modern age, I was thinking, why shouldn't I try to make my smallest one? And this is how this small pendule clock was born.
Wow! And how small was it, Aaron?
It is 20 millimeters.
You're nuts, bro. You're great.
What an absolutely stunning thing that is. Absolutely. It's on your website. It's called the Zattler, and it's 20 millimeters tall, 2 centimeters. Guys, it is just absolutely a work of art.
That's just crazy, man.
And look, he's wonderful. Thank you, Constantine.
Thank you, Constantine.
Yeah, and
at the time, I had only one lathe, watchmaker lathe, and this was designed on paper. So now I'm making my designs in computers,
and this was designed by hand.
Yeah.
Sketching and calculating. My God, it is. Yeah, that's old school. And I know you don't make clocks anymore, Aaron. But I just thought that we had to take a little look at that. And even after that, you then was your next piece another clock, tourbillon one.
Mm-hmm. Yes. After that, I was focused on complications. And this is tourbillon number 1 clock was born. It has a unusual escapement in tourbillons. You cannot see duplex escapement usually, and it has a calendar system which shows the weekdays, date, moon phase. There is a wind-up indicator, and on the other side there is a thermometer too.
A thermometer too?
Yeah.
That's astonishing. Amazing,
bro.
And
mind blown.
Good evening, Jay. How are you? It is absolutely astonishing, and I think I know that it's you don't work in the clocks anymore. You're far too busy with the development of your watches, and we're of course going to come to that in a moment or two. I did see another great comment from a wonderful friend of ours from McElherron as well, and Aaron. I met Aaron in Salon QP, where he told me he had made the rubies himself for his triple axle tourbillon, and that got me into making them myself. And we have seen what McElherron's been doing, and it is just mind blowing. So that is, welcome, McElherron. Thank you for your wonderful comment. And
he was on with me and Johnny and showing us, his painstaking long process of trying to figure out, how to diamond grind rubies, and obviously, so
you inspired him.
You inflicted some serious disease and took away weeks of his life. And that's what we show when we talk to walking legends such as yourself, to everybody, that sharing some of this knowledge. It really does help a lot of us. It's no longer secrets. It's no longer kept within borders. That's what independent watchmaking is. Even behind the scenes, we all try to talk to each other if we do get stuck. And, we try to break the boundaries, and we do. We're this modern independent watchmaking is at the forefront of micromechanical engineering, which brings us to, you're like one of the first people to make a triple axle tourbillon. That was way back when. Let's put a timestamp on that so people don't know this was yesterday, What year was that? Like 2007, 2008?
2008. It was the year when I was completed,
Wow.
2008, you created, and this is because this has become, the whole tourbillon phenomenon really has been something over the last, since the turn of the century or the millennium, when tourbillons become more commonly found, and that but the triple axis tourbillon is still a feat that only a very few watch companies, watchmakers would even dare to take on. And so was this what introduced you to AHCI, Aaron?
In this year, I have become a full member of the AHCI.
I'm not surprised. The AHCI is Académie Horlogère's Creative Indépendants, which is basically speaking the Academy of Independent Watchmakers, and it's invitation only. And I have seen the criteria for becoming a candidate. You don't even become a member. First of all, you have to become a candidate, and you have to be nominated to become a candidate, and you have to create your watch by yourself, basically in-house, and to a uncompromising standard of technical innovation, finishing, and
well, let's think also a little bit in the Wayback Machine, back in the year that Aaron was doing this. Even the Academy, to look outside of Switzerland and have someone being recognized outside of Switzerland was very difficult. Remember, he's in a different country. It's not like it was now, right, Aaron, where it's the internet and we're all just kind of becoming one, and it's acceptable that someone in Japan is creating a piece of mechanical art. It was very hard back then. So it shows you the prowess, the determination to be at the highest level of independent watchmaking.
Totally.
So it's amazing. So wait, so you progressed from pen and paper. Let's talk about that. You decided, okay, I wanted to do something in IT, and I need CAD and I need CAM to start to create more repeatable type parts. even though it's very, very extremely low production, one of a kind pieces. So you went back to school again. Can you tell us about that for 3D design and CAM?
After the watchmaker school, I went to the university in Budapest to learn mechanical engineering. So now as a mechanical engineer, I can develop almost everything by myself, including some machines in my workshop too. So when I facing with a problem, for example, how to finish the surface, I develop the tool for it to solve the problem. So it's you cannot buy the tool for your specific part, so you have to design by yourself if you want to make it perfect.
And way back then, after school, because it's very hard to find pictures of your workshop online, but in way back when, I've studied a lot of your pictures, which is what we do. Same in music, we look at the album cover, what kind of guitar strings and amps and what kind of tubes he got inside his Marshall amplifier. So we're all looking to see what everybody else has done, and there's glimpses of your CNC machines that I understand that you modified and made to help to produce some of the very, very difficult pieces that we need, right?
Yes, my first CNC machine was a custom-made machine. I also built a miniature CNC lathe, which is very useful for me to make pinions and axes. So it was not. I was not able to make it without them.
So I've seen the pictures, but I've looked at them and I saw you at your lathe. So what I'm trying to express to people is, some machines, we can't just go out and buy a Tornos, pinion and screw making machine for $250,000 and then tool it up after that. If we want to make 4 or 5 pieces a year, and each one is maybe a little bit different, we're not looking to make 1,000 pinions in our hand and spend 4 months designing a pinion so we can have and make life easier later. That's not the way we use CNC. None of us. These are prototype machines. So Aaron actually built his machine like I did mine here, from his head, and a few machines.
I also developed the whole machine for the Geneva stripes only.
The Geneva stripes. Yeah.
Go ahead. Let's have a look.
This is a machine for the Geneva stripes only.
Sorry, Aaron, you get
this one. Geneva stripes, by the way, it's a very tricky surface treatment. You can ruin all the previous work of the component. So if you don't make it right, it can be scrap.
Yeah. Your Geneva stripes are absolutely beautiful, and I've seen them on this the Dignitas, I think, with the power reserve, and also in close up on the. These are what we're going to come to in time here, but just to get a look at the back of the Vox Venium, the minute repeater, and so it's just the Coast of Genève. They're beautiful. The anglage, the polished edges. It's so complex there. There's tiny tight corners to get in and
incredible finishing. Incredible.
Yeah.
So
you have something you wanted to show us, Aaron?
Yeah, I can share my screen.
Let's have a look.
From the beginning, my goal was to achieve the best possible finishing. So this is my central bridge. This is how I applied the Geneva stripes. It's a wooden disc charged with abrasive, and you can you can see if the Geneva stripe is good or not, if there is the meeting of the anglage and the top surface. If you see steps at the stripe, it's not good. So it's just a very light surface treatment, which doesn't affect the anglage itself.
Yeah, amazing. Wow.
So you developed your own, it's a CNC machine to do this, correct?
Yeah. Yes, but it has so many parameters what you have to develop from the diameter of the wood, the charging abrasive, the rotation speed, the angle of the machine. So it is. I developed it more than 2 years or 3 years now.
Wow.
Extremely perfect. And after that, I check the correct position of the line. I start from the center point. It has to be perfectly aligned.
So it looks like you wrote the program as well.
Yeah, I have to.
Amazing.
Yeah. There's so many things in independent watchmaking. You have to, because there's nobody else there to do it for you. You cannot go and invest a fortune in software or in tooling.
Well, wait, let's back up a minute, because you see the machine that Aaron's testing the dimensions on there, that's not a cheap machine. Right, Aaron?
Oh man, absolutely. But you have to do it, yeah.
That's an automatic modern day digital measuring machine that he has that we all would drool and die to have, a lot of us here.
Measuring is one of the most, if not the most important thing in manufacturing, I guess.
Yeah.
Because if you cannot measure what you make, it won't work.
Yeah.
Of course, yeah. At first I had a manual profile projector, but now this machine is a bit more precise.
Yeah, you can. It just 1 second, all the dimensions are right on the screen. And welcome to 2020. So for people that are following along, so you understand, you'll always see like I have an old comparator here, a Nikon. They're very extremely accurate, but we've moved into the digital era. You don't have to manually turn little handles and then write down what it was here and the dimension over here, because we're dealing with microns. The machine Aaron has, you literally can put his piece on there and instantly all the dimensions pop up on the screen. So we can examine if the part is a go or no go, what we did wrong.
You have to make the measuring program first, and then if you put the same part to the machine, it can be recognized, the part itself, and measure the programmed dimensions.
Amazing.
Brilliant.
So so you're as crazy as everybody else. You got extreme obsessive compulsive disorder. We say OCD. Off the chart. So we're seeing, right, Johnny? We're seeing the pattern. You laughed at me, Johnny, in the beginning when I kept saying I have extreme OCD. I don't line stuff up in the refrigerator. All right, well, maybe a little bit, but we're all the greatest watchmakers and or friends of mine that are just a little bit off, but create amazing art. Or in music, same thing in music, right? Or who's going to sit down for 12 hours a day and just practice the same exact 37 notes in a row? Most people will quit after 40 seconds, right? But you got to have something wrong with you, big time. But
when I was laughing, I wasn't laughing at you because I was laughing at you because, God, this could be me,
we deal, Aaron, and most people are.
If you are not crazy, don't go to independent watchmaker.
No, yeah. I was just gonna say, you got to be nuts, because in traditional school we learn about zero error. The watch doesn't work. There is no error. We can't have any. It's right. And before, you can kind of mess things up when you're building something, whatever it is, a guitar amp or a guitar, whatever. There's a little cut corner. You can't in watchmaking. But when you get to crazy independence like Aaron, who's totally off the chain, or so like me, cuckoo for Cocoa Puffs, we're like gone. Our OCD's off the chain. We're like, wait a minute, nope, I don't want to buy that Coach de Genève machine. I'm going to make one that's even better than the dude that makes one.
That was what I was getting at, because yeah, you got to do these things yourself.
No,
I made mine. Look, it's right there.
oh,
Let's see.
Yeah. That one took that. It's not CNC, but it took a year for me to do that one.
Fantastic.
Just like Aaron said, it's the angles, the head angles of how we want our stripes, you know, and how they're all really unique if at this level. So
I have no shovel in 70, and I feel like, you know, left out here, you know. I'm gonna have to get one, like, you know, even if it's just to, you know, rest the computer on or something, you know.
Well, I keep saying that because that's what everyone. Me, actually, I prefer a Shovel 102 myself.
What? I was already a deposit down on a 70. Now you tell me I need a 102. Damn your eyes, man.
Let's get on to wristwatches and let's see what the Ignitus. This is what changed. The first time I saw this, I was like, "Who the hell is this? What is this? This is so badass, man!" Like, you know, there it is. That's the epitome of independent watchmaking, you know, someone creating something that is unique to themselves and offering that love to the world. And that's what we have here.
Yeah. Distinctive, absolutely beautiful, impeccable finishing throughout. The complexity even of the dial there with its the stencil numerals, that guilloche finishing of the sonnerie guilloche, it's just astonishing. I remember seeing that watch years ago in London, I think, in the Salon QP, and it just, sometimes you look at a watch and you can't actually imagine the effort and the thought and the dedication to create something, because there's nothing there off the shelf. There's nothing there that's your case, the lugs. I see the same lugs today on the new Ming watches, and you know, and it's just an absolute. Some watches leave you stuck for words, Aaron. And I can remember I wrote about this years ago, I think, and I was just trying to find that article earlier on today, and I couldn't find it. I think it was for Dream Chrono, and I'm not sure if they're still going, but it was a watch that just left me absolutely.
Actually, every watch what I make is a cooperation with the client, so that's why every piece is unique piece. So in my case, when a client comes with his idea, we discuss it, and that is how this unique piece is born.
That is true bespoke, isn't it? Really, like, that's each watch. So there's no two Becsei watches that are identical.
No.
Fantastic.
What's cool to me is, you know, he was not just way outside the box. He's just like, wait, everybody else is making round watches. You know what? Screw you. You know, watch me go. Watch me. and then you know, a round watch is very common. It's very appealing. It's very normal. It fits in a certain box. So to break that rule, and not only that, you know, give some little heavy metal pointy horns to the lugs there. It's beautiful, man. It's just, he's just saying, you know, this is my art, like it or not, you know.
When I decided to make my first wristwatch, one thing I have been certain that it won't be round. So
yeah, wow. And we can come to that question of Captain Forrester, because Captain Forrester, again, there's a different style of hand there on the pure diamond, isn't it?
Yeah.
And again, the engraving. Talk us through it, Aaron.
Here the diamond settings were made exactly for the specific diamond. You know, the baguette diamond has some differences in sizes, and I measured it one by one and make the exact settings for each stone.
Oh, can you imagine the labor and the time going into it? Because each one of those diamonds that are set into that there, and there are 10 diamonds set in there, each one cut the aperture for those down, or the setting is unique. And God, man, that must, I can't imagine that that level. Again, okay, people who are watching this, we're looking at a watch here that is has diamonds set into the instead of R indices, and they're square, they're flush with the dial, with the chapter ring, you could say, or the R index ring, and they are just I'm again, people. Yeah, I'm not. I am because I'm trying to express this in a way that people understand. Because this is not. There's nothing here. We didn't get 10 diamonds one day and set them into this dial, and because the next day we moved on to the next thing. And that's just the difference. That's the artisan, the craftsmanship, the dedication, the patience that would take. I don't know. Yeah.
Hey, Aaron, did the customer give you those diamonds, or
exactly. I don't even have a chance to select the diamonds for the setting. So the diamonds.
So you see what I mean, Johnny? Like sometimes those diamonds, maybe I'm not going to say that it was this case because me and Aaron haven't talked about this, but sometimes we get sentimental from the customer, and because they're one-off timepieces, and the same for what I do here in my timepieces is maybe those diamonds came from their mother or their grandmother's piece from something, and that can be incorporated and carry on in our life, and that's what we're dealing with here. It's totally,
yeah. No, I get that. You got to look at the detail sometimes. You got to look past, the watch. We use the word distinctive because with the shape of the case, it's not actually a tonneau case either, Aaron. Like, it is literally a rectangular case with rounded ends, and it's so people will look at it and go, "Oh, that's different," and it takes a little bit of time to really, for people to appreciate what the heck is going on there. It is absolutely, as Mitchell Weissman has said, the word I was going to use is unbelievable.
Mitchell, my buddy Mitchell. Hey, what's up, Mitch?
So
all the engraving on your pieces is done by a Hungarian engraver, correct?
Based on the client and my design.
Spectacular, absolutely beautiful. But the engraving too, they're a little bit closer up with the engraving, and again, just it is. Sometimes you look at something and it leaves you like me, stuck for words. If I was writing with this watch, I would be spending an hour over a sentence to try and describe this thing.
And that's the hands-only watch, and I know Aaron does the same case with tourbillon.
Yeah, the tourbillon. Well, we have a little look at that coming up right now, and in fact, why not just let's have a look at it. And this is tourbillon, the Primus triple axis tourbillon. Am I right, Aaron? Yeah, that's.
Yes, this is my first watch. I was my goal was to make a very extraordinary piece. I don't follow that path to make a simple watch and go for the most complicated one. To be
you sure did that. But this is a triple axis tourbillon. So this is 2008. This watch was. You showed it for the first time in 2008, yes?
Yes.
So you were working on it for 3 years before that, I assume. Exactly. So
I wanted to make very to pay attention to my work, and if you make a simple watch, it's not possible. My other priority is from the beginning is the finishing. So I always make the absolute maximum as I can at that time and at the moment too.
What inspired you to branch out? So you weren't after making the Zappler, that minuscule little clock, and the tourbillon 1 and the tourbillon 2. You then turned your attention to the wristwatch, but not any old wristwatch. What inspired you? Where did that come from, Aaron?
My dream was to make a triple axis tourbillon. At first, I was thinking of a table clock too, but another dream was to make a wristwatch too. So I combined the two dreams.
And a little bit of insanity.
look at that. Yeah. So we're looking. If anybody's listening, we're looking at the actual close-up of the triple axle tourbillon. How many components are in that one part, if you can remember, Aaron?
More than 100 parts, and the total weight is only 1.5 grams, and it has also a golden wheel at the outer cage, and the balance wheel is also made from gold.
And
it's once again, if you didn't hear that, that's 1.5 grams of total weight in what you're looking at.
Yeah. And one more thing, I don't use ball bearings in my triple axis tourbillon, and it is thanks to the special layout of the 3 cages. As I know, there are still no more other tourbillon which don't use ball bearing.
So you're not using bearings there. You're using the rubies that Michael was talking about earlier, but that you created yourself specifically for this the triple axis tourbillon.
Here I made the leather jewels for the escapement.
Wow. Wow.
Amazing.
Yeah.
In case you're all wondering, like, why we're barely talking, because it's mind blowing, man.
Yeah, it is. But that's the beauty of independent watchmaking, isn't it? Like,
well, it's also cool is most of us, except for myself, we're kind of like meek and quiet, and it's like, oh yeah, by the way, here's my 3-axis tourbillon. I'm working on a 13-axis tourbillon too, and then I'm going to send it to planet Mars. And we're all just kind of like that until we get together and maybe have a beer,
Yeah.
I am not as a good entertainer as you. So.
Well, I'm not good at doing this, Aaron. I mean, I'm faking this. I'm usually the one that always got interviewed, but at least this is comfortable for me, one-on-one talking to somebody else.
Yeah. Look, when we're talking about something that we live and breathe in the different ways that we do it, okay, I'm not at the bench, I'm not in the atelier. I often say if I had discovered this 20 years earlier, I probably would have been, but because it's so up. Any kid who loved making things, or whether it was kits or whether it was we had Meccano or we had Revel kits or Tamiya or whatever. This is the next progression, isn't it? Like, this is Lego Technics for grown-ups, isn't it?
My favorite was Lego also.
Yeah. But I am not surprised, because it is an extension of that ability. And I think kids that are able to do that kind of thing, they should be shown about this industry or about this career.
Problem solving. If you can teach a child at a very young age, like I keep, always say, my room looked like a blown up NASA. I was fixing everything from my house, the neighbors' TVs, car stereos, house stereos. That's what my room looked like. But it's not about that. It's really learning how to be a good problem solver, because it usually is somebody else that's hacked something up, or to make one good thing out of 5 broken things. That's what I was doing most of my life. So this is the top of that tier. That's what got me into it, besides my grandfather, is it's just all shrunk down, and we look through magnifying glasses to make it normal size. What you just got to hold your hands steady. It's, you can't be like, doing drugs and then trying to get into a triple axle tourbillon. It's not going to work for you on Monday. It's not going to work on Tuesday.
I'm trying to picture that scene all right,
Yeah. That's where the heavy metal and the watchmaking, they don't coexist.
Not surprising. So, but you also you sent us a few images of some of the work. So some of the raw parts. I want to go from there through some of the finishing processes. So because we're going to look at that. That's cut out
lever.
Yeah. From the lever would be from what the Vox Venum, is it, or the?
No, this is for my Dignitas.
From the Dignitas. So, and to look at it in closer detail. So, look, well, this is what separates the watchmaker, or this is what makes independent watchmakers a master watchmaker. The polishing and the finishing on that, because all around that the edge of that there is anglage, is probably vertical polishing as well. And tell us, yeah. So I'm sorry, I'm just looking at some of the images that you sent us, Aaron, and just looking at and to try and understand the.
That's good. That at least shows people, working the polishing by hand and how small the parts are. Because sometimes, you see a picture, you're like, oh, yeah, look at the size of that thing, man. That's a big picture. But, most of this stuff, a lot of it's almost invisible to the human eye that we're dealing with. And then we have to make it polished and then operate correctly and then be accurate, to within a few microns.
I cannot hardly believe this stuff. I really can't, so.
And if you think the big companies are doing this with their smoke and mirror type advertising crap, it's just not happening. All right.
Well, making 900,000 watches a year by hand, right? Okay, I like that idea too.
You got to pay to play, brother. You got to pay to play.
So, my goodness,
we're at independent watchmaking is the top of the food chain. All right. It used to, when Aaron started, and I'm going to keep coming back to this because it was very hard. It was almost impossible, especially being in Hungary, in a different country. It's now at the forefront, and it's breeding our next generation. Even from some of the schools are starting to teach at least, making bridges, and there is a pathway after. Hopefully, you do some restoration for many years and get some skills under your belt for longevity building reasons. But it was very hard back then, almost impossible, because Aaron could complete a triple axis tourbillon, and where's he going to advertise it? How's he going to advertise it way back when? Those are the difficulties. You needed, $5,000-$10,000 to put a teeny little ad in horological time, so let the Americans see it. Maybe somebody will buy one. Now it's a different world. But Aaron, he broke through all that, and he made it through, which is an incredible feat to get where he is. And at that time, he wasn't looked up upon by the Swiss like, oh, he made this amazing triple tourbillon. Let's let him in the AHCI. It wasn't like that back then. It's like, hey, wait a minute, slow down there. Who is this guy? Well, kind of thing. But at least now we're in an age where it is global. Independent watchmaking is a wonderful thing, and everyone who's a collector and getting into it or has been in it, they can like this guy's work and like that guy's work. We're all artists, and now we're actually getting higher and higher and higher up the food chain and being able to really create some spectacular art and take our time and be paid for our time properly. Finally, at this point, because we're it. Because what we're seeing now is a lot of the independence ideas, because we don't have boundaries, are now being adopted by the companies and watered down there, because we're usually the ones who were the ghost builders for them in the past but couldn't say so. So
there's a lot of that. Yeah, it's without a doubt what we're witnessing over the last 10 or 12 years really has been a slow but progressive evolution and a development of the independent sector from being a niche type of thing that only a few people knew about, to being almost mainstream. Thankfully, not mainstream, because that's the difference. And
we need to keep. I have to tell Aaron, because I've told it to just a couple other people too, that those pictures that you put out there, bro, of your workshop, those few pictures. Somebody came to visit your workshop way back when, and they snapped some pictures of the CNC machines you made, and those pictures really did transcend to a lot of where I am here to make, have me go, okay, I'm going to close down the restoration, and I'm going to finally, go independent and not ghost build for anybody else and all that kind of stuff. And looking at that and go, wait a minute, I could learn this. I could learn CAD. I could learn CAM. I could do this, and I don't think you understand what just some pictures and what you've done all those years, that hard work that you put in, can actually give love to somebody else and push it forward. And you've done that to me, certainly. If you've done it to me, you certainly showed other people they can do it who are outside of Switzerland.
Yeah.
Totally.
Especially if you decide to not buy the components, but you make the components. Basically, you don't have choice as a small manufacturer, because if you want to buy all the components, it costs you $1 billion.
Mm-hmm.
So there is no other way than you have to develop it, because
and we can't just go, okay, I'd like to go buy a Kern CNC machine. The funding it's not relevant, and the electricity to run those giant machines, it's not prosperous for people who do 4, 5, 6 masterpieces a year. We hope we can make that many.
If you want to make a watch brand, you have several options. You can buy a complete watch with your name, but it's still a common piece, so it's in the market. It's nothing. You can design your timepiece and buy the components for it, but it is also very difficult. You cannot do it in small quantities, because the suppliers have minimum order quantity for 1,000 pieces or more. So it's also cannot be done in small quantities. If you choose that you make the parts by yourself, it's also extremely difficult, because you have to keep very tight tolerances. And if you can make it and it works, it's still a raw, rough movement, which is equals to the other common pieces. So you have to add the extraordinary finishing if you want to make it better than others.
And then there's screws. It's the thing that other people look at our timepieces, right, Aaron? And they're like, "Oh, that's beautiful! I can't believe you made a triple axis tourbillon and all that." And then we're thinking, "Oh man, those screws!" Because we have to make them, right? Because if you call up, I'd like you have one screw, one certain size in your timepiece, one length, and the head is a certain thickness that we've designed. And if you want someone to sell you some of those screws, sure, they'll make you 10,000. What am I going to do with 10,000 screws? Put all that money in the setup, right? So we have to sit and make all the screws.
If you buy one type of screws, you cannot use all of the places, and you don't have flexibility in designing if you buy components in thousands of pieces or so.
Yeah, I keep trying to bring that up, Aaron, because it's like something people forget. They look at the case, they look at the dial, but they don't realize how much work we actually have to put into making screws, black polishing the screws, putting the bevel on screws, and each screw can be very unique to what we do, because our art is unique. We're not designing, like Aaron just said, all the screws are the same size. It doesn't work like that. So it's a lot of work, everybody. Hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of hours just to do screws.
There's a question from Pietro, who is a good friend. He's the limited edition. He is vanguard for independent watchmaking in the UK. Great guy.
Pietro Master.
Hey, Pietro, one of these days, my man. So we're going to have a chat with Pietro. We've got a good one coming up with Pietro in next month, I think. And Pietro's question is, the finishing is really the element that defines top-notch horology. So even more so than the technical engineering, I imagine in a way, one goes hand in hand with the other. That the engineering isn't possible without that kind of finishing. Yeah.
It's a complex mechanical art. So you have to be very accurate and very precise. But at the same time, you have to treat the components also extraordinary. So I think the two, or the two matters very much.
Yeah. Did you have something else you wanted to show us, or Aaron? I saw a few images moving on the screen there. So we can have a look at this. This is the screws. Okay.
Oh, killer.
Yeah. Here are the screws for the bridges, the fixing screws, and some of the other in the movement. Here, this is the second hand, but it's still in finishing stage. Another thing, it's one thing that you can design and build the components, but for making a component, it's not only for manufacturing that component, but you have to hold it somehow. You have to make jigs and fixtures for it. So one component means more than one component to produce, because you have to hold it somehow to be able to make the finishing.
So you have to make the little part that you sit that great wheel into, and is that a jig or a buck or
jig, jigs.
Yeah,
it's the easiest way to call it. You have to make jigs for the machines when we machine them, and then he has to make jigs when we're finishing and polishing them at all the different angles. And it's a time-consuming process.
You are not kidding.
Now I am working on a timepiece which has applied indexes, and to be able to polish the edges of the indexes, I also designed a jig or a holder for that piece. So.
Well, yeah, these are all right. Okay, so what we're looking at here are actually not part of the watch itself, or but
up top you are working at the indice for the dial is at the top of the jig that he had to make.
Exactly, you're creating the device to actually hold them, to secure them in place, while you then get down to the polishing and the finishing of them, and it's amazing. I tell you what this is. What In the Metal is proving to be is a fantastic insight to see the detail of what the watchmaker is actually doing. And because it's all very well, we look at a guy who's in his workshop and he's got his head down, he's got his loop on, and to see what's going on is it's fascinating.
Well, you're also going to see what we do see different people that we talk to is everyone does it similar but different. We have to figure out a jig to hold a certain part. There's no written manual of this is the jig to hold an indus on a dial. It's just whatever we come up with, whatever we can design, whatever tools and machines we have in our workshop is how we have to figure it out.
Sometimes it would be good if there were a manual.
Pietro, you're absolutely blowing our trumpet there. I would tell you. Thank you. I could never claim anything out there. I just love being part of this, and to shining a light on the independent watchmaking, like we're doing. So
Yeah, I think I really do find that the machines that are in our workshops, individual machines, we all have some similar machines, but however that watchmaker works, the jigs represent how he works. The parts represent how he works. The case, the dial, whatever they're doing totally in-house represents the tools in hand.
Sure.
Besides the art that's within us.
What do we got here? So
here is a jig also for to hold the bridge. This is one of my bridge.
So you're working on that bridge. How long will you work on that bridge for, Aaron?
It's better to not count.
If you thought about it too hard, you go crazy. I have news for you. You probably are crazy, my friend. Anyway, so
until it's right. Wait. So wait a minute. I see the kind of horn shape on your timepiece cases. Like, are you a metalhead? Like, when you're listening, do you listen to music while you work, or did you listen to metal when you were young and now you moved on to more calm type music?
No, I was a big fan of Metallica, but Anthrax is also good.
Okay.
Anthrax with the noisy neighbors for sure. Like,
I noticed him, like, he's got points on his watches, John. You know what I'm saying?
Oh, absolutely.
So I'm come on now. That's metal, man. That's totally metal.
It is absolutely is. Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
So,
this is the picture what I usually send to the clients. This kind of pictures. It is a photorealistic picture based on their discussions, and if everything's okay, I start the manufacturing, and now I am working on this watch.
So you're working on this watch at the minute. So that is actually the customer. You send that, and that is obviously it's not a finished article. That is a render, a very high quality render, and the customer can look at that probably in 3 dimensions and then say, yeah, that's what I want there, and change that little bit, do something with the second hand. And this is what you're working on at the minute. Then
that's killer, man. That's killer.
You talk about you cannot get more customized than that, can you?
This is still in rough, but we can see. But
of course, yes.
But this is the layout.
Yeah, the finishing of that would be it'll be.
Here there was a request to have a teardrop somewhere in the pattern, and
at the 6.
Yes, at the 6, and the client liked the wine and the grapes, and he wanted to landscape in the middle, and the 7 stars on the sky.
Yeah, the 7 stars. That's just absolutely beautiful. Again, we're looking at extraordinary pieces. But Joe, yes, the time is getting on. We haven't talked about the Vox Venom, the minute repeater, which you must be very proud of. When did you make that piece, or which is yes,
it's around a year ago. I finished around a year ago. It is a grand sonnerie. Here I start with an ebauché movement, but I completely rework it. So it's the case design is completely mine. It's especially made for this mechanism. Here, this is a stainless steel case, and I designed it to be resonate as much as possible, so the sound is quite loud.
Wow! So that's why it has a lot of air, a lot of space inside it for the sound.
What about the cases? Your gold cases and these cases, Aaron? I know you said you're designing them. How are you having those made?
This case is a stainless steel case with titanium buttons. The buttons are blued. And I make the case by myself in my CNC machine.
And what about the gold cases? Are you making them yourself as well?
I have them in a rough format, and I finish it by myself. The gold cases I get it from a gold casting company.
So you design in CAD, and then you have the molds made, and then somebody is just making roughs for you, and then most of the work is still done by you, obviously.
That's exactly, yeah.
Right. It's just how everybody is doing it. So I'm just letting everybody know we're not, goldsmiths, and that would take up too much time for us and a whole nother set of machinery and tools for us to do. So most of us are precious metals. It's being poured into a mold, and it's not coming back polished in the case is finished and we just unwrap it. There's a lot of work to do for Aaron to complete a case.
Oh, absolutely. But,
amazing, bro. Amazing, bro.
So,
you're nuts, man. You're nuts. That's a double. It's beautiful. It's
Down, be nice to our guests, will you? Go on,
that's as nice as I get, Johnny. That's the biggest compliment you can get is you're nuts.
Call our guests nuts and lunatics out there, but well, yeah, but no, it's spectacular. So it is. So that's the sonnerie. So it has it's activated obviously by the button below the crown, but the three settings, I assume, or the settings for the different chimes. How many gongs are in it, Aaron?
Here there is 2 gongs, but the sonnerie means it has a separate barrel which keeps the energy, and it can strike by the watch itself. So you can set at the bottom if you want to hear it every quarter, the timing, or only at the hours, or nothing.
Yeah, and yeah, it is. And I actually have a question because Pietro has
the balance bridge. Oh, that balance bridge! I've seen that. That's just so cool, man.
Isn't it absolutely beautiful?
So cool. That's so cool.
That's yeah.
There were diamond so get from the customer, and I set it in the crown. But it was a quite big one, so I need to design the crown not to look too big. So it has a separate. It is from separate parts, the crown itself, and there is a blued titanium setting on the top. And in this way, it is optically not that big.
Yeah, absolutely magnificent. Pietro wanted to know why. What inspired you to take the Washer caliber as a base?
It's not a washer. It's an antique sonnerie caliber. So here, the client's wish was to have an extraordinary sonnerie watch, but if you want to develop it from the ground, it took really long time.
Wow! So this actually is a piece that the whole concept, the whole idea of the sonnerie is the customer has asked for this piece. So the day that customer contacted you, you did not have this in your mind until.
This ébauché movement means it's unfinished and have the base parts. And I designed and developed new parts and refinished everything. It has almost 400 components, so I make.
Wow!
Unbelievable.
Yeah, and the finishing on all of those components is just. It's the repeater is just it's a beautiful thing to look at. So it is,
and so Aaron, let's talk a little bit about how you also give back to other watchmakers. You have a few assistants working with you that you teach, correct?
Yeah,
young watchmakers? You teach them CNC. You teach them. Can you elaborate on that a little bit?
I started alone, and now for around 5 years ago, I had to choose to follow it by myself or grow my company, because the deadlines were bigger and bigger, and I had no time to develop and design new pieces. But of course, I need to keep the quality, and it was a very hard decision. Now we have a small team. We have a small team. I have 4 employees, and we are working together and improve ourselves together.
Young Hungarian watchmakers.
Giving back. See, that's this. You got to do it, man. Look, it's not just about getting helpers and expanding the company. It's Aaron's not looking to make 50 watches a year, I don't think, if you know what I'm trying to say. He's giving back that love to show and pass the torch for his country to other watchmakers, which is what my plan is here once I'm rolling here. Just 2 or 3 watchmakers, and show them and let them use my machines if they want to. Off hours, make their own timepiece and get going when that time is right and they think they have their skills to move on and to represent my country. And I think we all should do that from around the world if we have the capabilities to break into independent watchmaking. It's beautiful, Aaron. It's beautiful, man.
It's a good way to represent the country.
For sure. Well, it works 2 ways, doesn't it? Because you need more hands to help you achieve and realize your goals and your objectives. But the only way to do that, because you can't just put an advert in the local newspaper and say, hey, I want an absolute top drawer watchmaker to come work for me, because they don't really exist like that. So it's either you go to a big company where there's the watchmakers are embedded and they're being paid a handsome salary, or you got to go and train somebody, because you also don't want to be taking in anybody who is bringing in bad habits or maybe shortcuts, or you're bringing these people up the way you want them to represent Becsei watches.
Well, I think the largest factor for most of us, because we have OCD and we're perfectionists beyond the word perfection, is how do we let go of something that we've been doing everything ourselves? Everything. We've designed it, we birthed. It's not just a company name. We're artists. We're true. Aaron is a true artisan. How do you let go of a process and have someone else do it and have it represent who you are, your way? It's very difficult to let go. That's, I think, what Aaron was trying to say. Yeah. He had to make a difficult decision. And that's why you will see a lot of independents. Right now, it's just me. That's the way I am too. Same in my music, right? How am I going to let somebody else play on my album? And, no, I'm going to figure out how to do it my way and do it my way. It's very hard to let up our art. It's hard to...
Speaking of, I know this is your territory, Dan, but during the day when you're working in your atelier, or at night as well, do you listen to music when you're working, or is it silence?
No, I can't. But don't judge by me, because I've been overloaded, standing in front of, 9 Marshall stacks behind me blasting for half my life. So I'm half deaf, and no, I'm in complete silence. I've had some jazz, old jazz music I do play now and again. Just because that's what Mike grew up with my dad. He was a massive jazz fan, big band stuff, Frank Sinatra and Dizzy Gillespie and Tao Follow and real old killer jazz. But no, I need silence. I need my brain to think. When I drive in the car, it's complete silence. Same thing.
Really? God, man. I thought in the car.
I think it's the OCD thing. When I walked off that last, kind of giant stadium stage, it was like, I'm done. Okay, next chapter. So
That's-
I have to do it that way. Otherwise, I'm either all in or I'm all out. I'm either taking over 2 planets with my music, or I'm taking over 2 planets with my watchmaking.
But you like a bit of jazz yourself too, because you sent me an email yesterday, Aaron, with a couple of your jazz influences.
Cool.
Yeah. So it's funny, isn't it? Our listening habits, you know.
But, absolutely.
It's fantastic.
It's just mind blowing, Aaron. What you've accomplished, man. I don't even think you understand the impact you've given to independent watchmaking from where you are. You've influenced a lot of the people I talk to as well, not just myself. From a distance, the impact you've laid the groundwork. You're one of the godfathers of where we are today, and the next generation that we're birthing now. So hopefully, some of the information we've given out today, and hopefully we can talk to you again in the future. I can come visit your shop once I can start to travel past the pandemic. That we can give some more information to young watchmakers and to the collectors, letting them know really the true difficulties in what it took to get where you are today, and the difficulties of what it is that you're producing today, your true art coming from yourself.
Yeah. And again, so look, it's this is what it's about. It's about telling people the stories of independent watchmakers who possibly aren't as well known as others, and that's even in the independent scene. So that's one of the things I'm loving about In the Metal is shining a light into all the different parts of it. And again, because it was an observation I had made, Aaron, because I'm obviously well familiar with your work. I'd written about it years ago, and but as a watchmaker, you can't do everything. So you can't be designing.
Yes, you can.
I know, but doing the social media down, it's so.
That's right, Aaron. Is that the one thing that we hate? Like doing this stuff. Like this is cool because you're talking to me and Johnny, right? It's cool. Probably the first time it's like a little bit relaxed or something, but having to take the time, right? Oh man, I gotta post on this. I gotta post pictures. I gotta keep working, man. Right? It's difficult.
It can be.
That's what I hate. You cannot do that.
See? Yeah. And we're all dying for like pictures of your workshop and you working. But it's like, what am I gonna do? If I stop, I'm gonna lose my train of thought. I gotta put down my file, right? It's just such a pain in the ass, man. I don't know how these kids do it. Yo, young kids, you.
Yeah.
You're making all these. I watch them right now. They're making like movies. Like I'm like, how are they working?
For God's sake, we've been working this StreamYard for the last 6 months, and Aaron weighs in tonight and shows me. He says, "Hey, what about doing a share screen?" I go, "What?" So I've been working on the resizing. It was that's really cool. I thought so too. So now we've got yet another trick up our sleeve, Dan. It just keeps getting better and better.
Aaron's not a watchmaker; he's an IT guy. So let's fake the face.
He is. Oh, I think you'll find very much the watchmaker. So listen, we're approaching our 90 minutes, and really and truly, it's past our bedtimes, and so our mums will be cross with us if we don't go and get it. So I want to thank everybody for tuning in again to In the Metal. And I also really want to thank an amazing guest. And like we've sat here tonight with our mouths open quite a lot of this time, looking at some of the work that you've done, Aaron. And we only got scratching the surface. I wanted to ask you the question of what was the reaction when you presented your triple axle tourbillon to the AHCI. I would love to know that there. Let's ask that question another time, perhaps, because there's so many things. Look, I hope you enjoyed it, and I hope that the people.
It is my pleasure. It was a amazing conversation. Thank you so much.
Well,
yeah.
Well, here's the thing that we would like In the Metal, that anytime you get something new to show or you have a new piece, because we don't all have the showcase, we may not have the big exhibitions or the big fairs for a while, although We Time or whatever it's called is trying to make a go of it. Anytime you get something new to show us, let us know. Give me a few weeks notice, and we will look at it here in more detail and scrutiny than anywhere else in the whole damn world, and that's for sure, isn't it?
Yeah. No, it's my honor and pleasure, man. It's incredible that we can do this stuff, and just really, I'm just very grateful you came on, Aaron, and we got to see, and everyone else can see the humanness and that you are. Your incredible art that the collectors, I mean, they already lined up, but they should be lining up for at least 5-6 years worth of your work. But it just should be that way, and
thank you.
It's just it's mind blowing, man. You I don't even know what to say. Like Johnny, it's like the first time I got nothing to say.
And that doesn't happen too often.
No,
I think, Aaron, what we're both trying to say is that the level of workmanship, the unique identity of each one of your watches, the story behind them, how they come to be in the first place, is you cannot get more bespoke than that. Right. It's and
it's like you set the ground rules of true independent watchmaking, working with the customer one-on-one, making individual pieces. The art is your own, and for you as a watchmaker, really just trying to keep breaking the boundaries of keep making killer stuff, man.
Totally.
That's what's cool.
And basically, this is what the big companies cannot do, and they're real.
That's what makes the difference.
Keep switching it up, and that's basically what I'm trying to say. It's like that really is, Johnny. Like that is the epitome of the word independent watchmaking. Anybody else can water it down and have it their way, but truthfully, that this is it.
It's another word. And folks, you heard it here first, and you're always going to hear it first on In the Metal, because we're going to bring and continue to bring these amazing talents like Aaron Becsei, who has dedicated his life to making these extraordinary timepieces. And in 100 years' time and 200 years' time, those watches will be revered as as the works of art that they are, but as historically significant, and that's the difference. So everyone, thank you so much for joining us yet again for another episode of In the Metal. We will be back next week, and we will have another fantastic show for you there, and we're looking at somebody else's work. And so for everybody who has joined us, for all your comments and for all your support and encouragement, thanks so much. We'll catch you again next week. Bye from In the Metal.